Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we have a great show for you today. The first topic we'll be covering is about Blake Snell and his market. This point in free agency, obviously the reigning Cy Young winner still being on the market is a very huge thing, so we are going to talk about it. The next thing we'll be talking about is the keys for each NL and AL team going into the year. Just a little bit of a preview, but in kind of a different way than I've done it, because the season is starting very soon. And finally, just ending with what we usually end off with, some news around the league, some stories I wanted to touch on. Before we do that, I would like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. Really does help the show, really does mean a lot. So if you do donate, thank you so much for that. But as well, subscribe. Helps us a lot, gets you notified whenever we post a video, not just me, but all the other great content creators on this channel. So, make sure you do that, and let's get straight into our first topic today, which is going to be about the aforementioned Blake Snell. Now, obviously, Blake Snell won the Cy Young last year with the Padres, and that was the second Cy Young of his career. Now, I think a lot of people figured that when he won that, they would be like, okay, he's getting a huge contract in the open market. There's no reason he wouldn't. It's his second Cy Young of his career. Had the best season, one of the best seasons of baseball last year, considering he did win the Cy Young. Everyone was just looking at that as something that was guaranteed. A lot of teams needed pitching. Teams always need pitching. So the reigning Cy Young winner was out there. Some team's going to throw a huge contract at him, right? Well, not exactly. It is March 18th, and Blake Snell is still in the market, and he doesn't look that much closer to be signing. I think that's for a lot of factors with him. I think the main one is just his inconsistency. You could point to his two Cy Youngs and say, well, if that's not consistent, what is? And that's a fair point, but I think you have to look at the seasons outside of him winning the Cy Young. The seasons where he wasn't that great, because when he doesn't win the Cy Young, he's not that good, simply put. His numbers might be okay. They're not great, obviously. They're not the amazing numbers he has for the Cy Young. There's, still higher threes, low fours, which is fine, but it's not a Cy Young worthy guy. And it's also, you have to look deeper in that when you look at Blake Snell. This is a guy who in his career has not gone that many innings. He gets knocked out of games early. He throws a lot of pitches. And as much as he might give you those 5 great innings when he has a Cy Young, you're still going to have to use your bullpen a lot when he pitches, because he doesn't go deep into games. That's just not who he is. It's not because he can't. It's just because he throws a lot of pitches for whatever reason that is. That's just how his pitching has always worked. So he already has concerns when he wins the Cy Young. Now you take that out of the picture when he doesn't win the Cy Young. That's someone that has a lot of issues as a pitcher, a guy you don't know if you want to give a 7-year contract to. You're committing to this guy for 7 years to be a big part of your rotation. So I think that's why he's still in the market, and that's why teams that are, frankly desperate for pitching, they haven't, gone towards him. They haven't given that big contract that he wanted. So I think that's why he's still in the market. And I just want to go over a few things about his market, and hopefully it does come to an end soon, because we want to see him sign, we want to see him pitch. I want to talk about some news as well, so I think that would be beneficial to every party involved. And and there was some news around him really throughout the week, but also kind of heated up towards the end of the weekend. So we're going to talk about that. So the first thing I want to talk about for him was the Astros' interest. Now, this is going to take a majority of this, because I think that's really what's going on with Snell right now. So the Astros, kind of out of nowhere a few days ago, it was reported that they registered a strong amount of interest in Blake Snell. And I think that makes a lot of sense on paper, but it really wasn't rumored at all. And so a lot of people were taken aback by that, including myself. I was like, okay, that's kind of strange. That was not a team we heard at all connected to him. And, I think as of right now, they've been the most rumored team with him for a good amount of time. And I think that's for a few reasons. I think the first reason you have to look at it is that the injuries they've had in their pitching staff. They lost Justin Verlander for whoever knows how long. It probably won't be that long. But to be fair, we said that last year with the Mets, and he missed a good amount of time there. So I don't really know if there's a real timeline for him right now, considering he is an older guy. Frankly put, he is an older pitcher. Verlander's 39, 40, so I think older guys, especially pitchers, are going to not recover as well as a younger guy would. That's just how the human body works. So I don't know about a timeline for him. I would say probably a few weeks, but again, there could definitely be a setback with his injuries he had with his age, so I don't know how he really looks going into the season. You just had Jose Urquidy have an injury, so he's going to be out for a little while. And I think those were two guys who were looking to be major parts of your rotation, and I think that was probably the main reason why they registered a lot of interest in Snell. Ken Rosenthal himself said they were in serious pursuit of him, so I think that's kind of the big reason why they went after Snell. And I think this draws a lot of comparisons to Josh Hader, who they signed before in the offseason, of course. Hader was mentioned with a lot of other teams, and a lot of people didn't know where he would get a contract from. He was mentioned with the Rangers, with the Dodgers, with the Phillies, and obviously didn't go any of those places. But those are the teams we kind of looked at for him. And then as the offseason went on, we kind of realized, okay, none of the teams are really going to give him that contract. Who will? Well, the Astros did, and the Astros kind of came out of nowhere. One day before he signed, it was first reported that they had interest in him, and then he signed. So I think that it shows a lot of comparisons to Snell, and also it shows a lot of comparisons in the way of why they're registering interest. They registered interest in Hader for, frankly, one of the big reasons was Kendall Graveman. He was one of their big bullpen pieces that they acquired at the trade deadline last year. He was going to be a big factor in that bullpen, and he got hurt. So they needed someone to fill in his role, and who else is better to fill in his role than arguably the best closer in baseball in Josh Hader? And I think the Astros are kind of looking at comparisons with that because now they've lost Snell. They've lost Verlander, they've lost Urquidy, so why not bring in Snell to fill in those guys? And the difference is with Hader, you're probably looking at more of a short-term contract with Snell. Obviously he wanted that 5 to 7 year contract, $200 million at the start, but I think that's incredibly unrealistic right now because of where his market is, because where he is right now. So I would be incredibly shocked if he gets that. And it's been reported he's fine with the short-term contract like his Boris countermates got, Chapman, Bellinger. And what we know is that he asked the Astros for a 2-year, $66 million contract, according to Bob Nightingale, who does know some stuff about the Astros. Obviously, Nightingale is kind of hit or miss, but I think he knows the stuff about the Astros. So I'll take it with that being true here, that he wanted two over 66, and the Astros balked at that. Basically, tell him get out of here. We're not doing that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if they do pull the trigger on Snell because of that contract, because of the need they have for him. So it's definitely going to be super interesting. I think Snell to the Astros does make a lot of sense. I mentioned in short about it a while ago, which is that the Astros need pitching depth. I mentioned it with Verlander and Urquidy. Snell gets to go to a winning environment for those 2 years. He's not wasted away on a team like the Angels, who we're going to mention as well in this segment. Some other teams that might show interest that aren't in as good of a spot as the Astros. As much as you can say a lot of things about the Astros, but they're a championship contender, and they always will be. So I think Snell gets that opportunity to go to a World Series again, try to win it this time with the Astros. The Astros don't have to commit long term to a pitcher and a guy that has some question marks. So that's something else that you have to look towards if you're an Astros fan. I just don't know about the money situation because, like a lot of teams, they're very high in the luxury tax. They signed Hader this offseason. They signed Abreu last offseason. They have the Altuve extension on. They have the Jordan extension on their books. A very good price for Jordan, by the way, but still a lot of money. But the contract they extended Jordan for was just an absolute steal. But that's a different situation. You have Ryan Presley as well there. You have Christian Javier getting extended, who got extended last year. So you have a lot of contracts on those books, and I think adding Snell, even if it is for 1 or 2 years, it's still a lot of money, and you still probably have to pay some tax penalties. So I think that's another way to look at it. So there's a lot of variables and factors going on with Snell and the Astros, and it's going to be interesting to see if they do pull the trigger, if Snell wants to go there. And I'm interested to see if the Astros come out of nowhere and get Snell. And hopefully news breaks soon, and in the coming days that he's signing somewhere. So I have something to talk about. Some other teams I did want to mention with Snell. First, you have to mention the Giants. The Giants have been one of the most heavily rumored teams with Snell throughout the whole process. They have a lot of relation to the Astros in this way, I think, and the relation is pitching injuries. I mean, the sheer amount of guys the Giants have lost is just incredible. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Keaton Wynn, Tristan Beck, Robbie Ray, Alex Cobb, those are 4 guys who are going to pitch meaningful innings for this team that aren't going to pitch for the first half. So I think bringing in Snell makes logical baseball sense because of that. You get a guy to eat innings, and who better than the reigning Cy Young winner? So, we talked about it before, how eating innings isn't really his thing, but I think just having a body for the Giants in their rotation at this point would be a good thing. You have Logan Webb already a certified ace. The Jordan Hicks contract, you're going to see how that works out with him being a starter. Personally, I think Jordan Hicks is going to be a good starter, but I think there's a balance there he has to find of, throwing those 100 miles per hour pitches he does as a reliever, and then, focusing on staying healthy as a starter because he's pitching a significant amount of innings. So that's going to be super interesting to watch. But yeah, the Giants make sense because of that, and I think they are a player in the Snell situation here, and I'm interested to see what happens with them. I frankly don't know if they have the money left. They signed Jung-Hoo Lee, Jorge Soler. Recently they signed Matt Chapman. So, it's going to be a very interesting thing to see if the Giants do have the money, do pull the trigger for Snell, and if that is where he ends up. Obviously, he has a connection there with Bob Melvin, his former manager in San Diego. So there's a lot of stuff to consider if you're Snell going to the Giants, and definitely intrigued to see what happens with that fit. 2 other teams I did want to mention here. First is the Angels, of course. The Angels have been mentioned a lot with Snell. They need pitching. They have money to spend after Ohtani left. Snell lives in the SoCal area in the offseason, so I think they're definitely a fit. You also have to mention the Yankees because they were mentioned before with him, and now with Cole getting hurt, I think that could give them some more interest in him. But everything we've heard is that the Cole injury is not going to make them go extra hard at a starting pitcher if they haven't already. Obviously, they lost out on the Dylan C sweepstakes, so it's definitely going to be an interesting situation for them to see if they want to spend. I don't think they will because I just don't think they have that much money left to spend because of where they are on the luxury tax. So I would say Snell to the Yankees is unlikely. And overall, if I had to guess where Snell ends up, I think it's going to be the Angels. The Astros, again, make a ton of sense, so do the Giants, but I think the contract situation for them is what's going to take them away. With Snell and the Angels, they have a lot of money. According to John Heyman, Mike Trout has been pushing the Angels to add more players. He's pushing them to add JD Martinez, who has been rumored with them. I would assume he also wouldn't be unhappy if they add another free agent like Blake Snell, who is, of course, a superstar in this league, I would say, winning the Cy Young and being a pretty known name. So I think definitely the Angels are a team to watch. I think if I had to guess, that's where he ends up. They need pitching as well, of course. They don't have really any contractual obligations that are going to take them away from this. Of course, they have Trout and Rendon, but after that, there's not that many big contracts. So I think the Angels are a really strong fit for Snell. I think that's where he ends up. But I wouldn't discount the Yankees. I wouldn't discount the Giants. Wouldn't discount the Astros. But I do think the Angels have the edge here. There's been some reports that he much prefers the Angels to other teams. So it's definitely going to be something that's interesting. I don't know why I keep saying interesting so much, sorry. But it is interesting. It's interesting to me. So I guess that's why I keep saying it. So yeah, the situation here is going to be exciting to watch over the coming days with Snell. And going to be really fun to watch as a baseball fan. So that was the end of our first segment here. We're going to go on to our second segment, which is going to be about keys to each NL team season. Just the ways I think each NL team can play best their potential and kind of be the best they can. So we're going to talk about that, but first we're going to go to a break, and then we'll talk about it after then. So see you then, and bye.